So today we're going to be continuing looking at solids, liquids and gases. Now I know we've started to look at this, but obviously we're going to progress on to looking at what states of matter are and actually the features of each of these and really understand these. So what is a solid, liquid and a gas? So I'd like you to have a look at these three pictures here. I want you to think of how could you describe these, and if you can think of any other examples. So you don't need to write anything down, but if you could just think about it and think of some examples. Okay, what I'd now like you to do is I would like you to use this link which I have put on the CSR activity to go and have a look at this link. Now I've not been able to get it to work on the PowerPoint slide, but if you can go and have a look at this on YouTube, it's going to explain all sorts about the solids, the liquids and the gases, and we're going to obviously learn about why the states of matter are different and how you can tell the difference between these. So once you have come back, we are going to now look at the properties. So properties mean what makes something. So we're going to look at solids first. So obviously these are some examples of some items that are all solids, and what they have in common is they are all materials in a solid shape that keep the same shape unless force is applied. So for example, if I have a stapler, okay, it will be the same shape unless I push, pull or twist it to make a different shape. So that's what we mean by force. Okay, they can be cut, they can be squashed and they can be twisted, but what the main thing to remember is that they cannot change their shape on their own. You have to have done something to make them change their shape. So solid materials always take up the same amount of space, so it doesn't matter about how you do how you actually move it, it will always take the same amount of space up. They do not spread out or flow, and they do not have to be hard. They can be soft and squishy. So for example, like a piece of string, okay, that piece of string is not going to change unless you actually pull it or cut it, okay, but it is also very soft and it's squishy and you can bend it, but obviously it will not fully change its shape. Okay, liquids. Liquids, here are some examples of some liquids on the bottom. So liquids can take any shape of the container that they're in. So they can take any shape or the shape of which, if it's a bowl, if it's a water bottle, it's a cup, okay, they will fill the space. Although they can change shape, they cannot change their volume. So this means they still take up the same amount of space. So they don't get bigger, they don't get smaller, okay, but they obviously can take the shape up, but they don't get any, there's no more or no less liquid once it has moved into a different container. Liquids are pulled down to the bottom of the container because of gravity. We've obviously spoken about gravity before. Gravity is what holds us down to the earth rather than letting us float about. And liquids can flow or be poured. So obviously there's some tea, coffee, soup, honey, lemonade, Coca-Cola or milk are some examples of these. Okay, gases. So these are materials that can spread out to completely fill the container. So they can go wherever they want and they can fill a container or a room that they are in. They have weight and they can be squashed, so you can push a load of gas into a smaller space, but they do not keep their shape. They're all over the place and they can be pushed into a smaller space as they can change their shape. They can change their shape all the time. So looking at some examples, we've obviously got things like water vapour from the kettle, it might be like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, or nitrous acid as well. So I'd like you to see if you can correctly match the properties with the state. So the state means what they are like. So for example, a solid, I want you to see which two of these could it be. A liquid, which two, a gas, which two, and I want you to write these down in your book. So you might write a solid and then write me a little sentence using the correct sentences here. So let's have a look. So you should have said that a solid can be cut, squashed or torn and that it keeps its shape. A liquid takes the shape of the container it is in and it can be poured, and a gas spreads out to fill a space and does not have any fixed shape, so it can be any shape that it needs to be. So particles. We can explain the differences between solids, liquids and gases by knowing what they're made of, and scientists have found that all materials are made of tiny particles, and they're so small that you cannot see them, not even with a microscope. And the position and the behaviour of the particles tell you which is a solid, which is a gas and which is a liquid. So, solid, liquids and gases, which ones do you think connects to which state of matter? So we've talked about these a little bit before, so I want you to see if you can try and connect which one is a solid, which is a liquid and which is a gas. Okay, so let's have a look. So you should have said that the solids were the first lot, the liquids were the middle, and then the gases were the end. And this is how we can differentiate solids, liquids and gases. So solids are closely packed together in a regular pattern and they vibrate on the spot. So you can see the little lines next to it that shows that they're vibrating on the spot. The liquids are particles that are close together but they're very random. There's no set pattern for them and these move over each other and around each other but in a smaller space. Finally, gases there's fewer particles and these are spread out much more so that they can move in all directions, which makes them able to change shape. So I'd like you now to go and draw these three different types of particles. So I'd like you to draw what the solids would look like and label it solid, and you can also give me a little description similar to this one here. Liquids, to go and draw those and again describe those in a little short sentence as well, and gases and describe those as well. And then once you've done that, if you press play on the video, you can have a go at doing the next activity. So I'd like you now to have a look at this video. So I've put this as number 2 on the CSR activity. So if you can click on that, go and watch that video, and that's going to give a quick recap of solids, liquids and gases, thinking about why we know them as states of matter, what do we know about the particles, and also putting it into a relatable term using things like lemonade or ice pops. Once you have done that, if you can come back to me, and then I'm going to explain the task for you to do for today. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I would like you to go around your house and I want you to write me solids, liquids and gases, and I want you to write examples of a solid, a liquid and a gas. And once you have wrote that, you can also draw a picture of what your object is. So for example, you might draw a table that's in your kitchen, and you might say obviously a table would be a solid. Then you might say a glass of milk, so you could draw a glass of milk and you would obviously put that in the liquids. And finally, gases could be things like carbon dioxide that we breathe out, carbon monoxide, which happens when there's a fire. You've got things like oxygen, which obviously we breathe in, as well as some other ones as well. And you could actually as well, if you're not sure on too many other gases, you could have a look online and go and see if you can find some other examples as well. So things like methane and nitrate gas, obviously laughing gas, things to blow up balloons, helium, so you can go and obviously have a go at writing some examples down as well. And then once you've done that, if you can put that on Seesaw, that would be brilliant for me to be able to have a look at.